Hi, I read When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, and boy was this a different read for me. There are things I really liked about this story and things I struggled a bit with. It was a book I had some struggles to get into. It didn't just land perfectly for me. I had some issues with the language. It took me a bit of time to get into it. It's well written, so it's not that I wasn't really used to her way of writing, I was scared that it was going to go in a direction I don't like, but when I pushed through that, I got used to her way of writing, and I really got into the story. So by the end of it, I really loved the book. So it took me a long while in the beginning, and it went really fast to finish it once I got into it. So the main character is telling this book. So she is an old woman retelling her life, and the focus is on her formative years and her childhood. So we have her life and her take of events during the 50s and 60s mainly, intermittently throughout the chapters we have like outtakes from research, from interviews, from court settings. So it's like the main character is a scientist. So these parts are to like enforce the scientific feeling of the book. Everything is made up. The courtroom meetings, court thingies, and the research, everything is about dragons. So it's not like it's real. Everything's made up, of course. So in this book we have a world that is very similar to our own. Everything is exactly the same, except that women can become dragons, and it usually happens in a state of emotion, like if you feel great sadness or great anger or great joy, but it can just happen. And so the women quite literally step out of their skins and become these massive dragons. So the woman the author wanted to write about was about rage, about dragons, but also about what happens to a society that is in denial and has suffered a massive trauma. So the big thing that happens, it's in the US. So a big thing that happens, if I remember correctly, 1955, it's like there's a massive dragoning, and dragon is a verb too in this book. So when you become a dragon, you dragon, or there's a dragoning. So 1955, a mass dragoning happened, and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of women just popped away, became dragons, and either explored the jungles, the seas, the space, and they just left. So mothers, sisters, children, grandmothers, poof, gone. And this left this massive hole in the hearts of the people. And to dragon in this world is shameful. It's something you don't talk about. So it's like this standard phrase: good girls keep their eyes down, good kids keep their eyes down. Because if you look up, you will see all the dragons flying around, and there's such a high level of denial. So even if you saw a dragon, you would not recognize it as a dragon, because you would lie to yourself, like it's a trick of the light, it's a cow, maybe a really big bird. Obviously the people know they are looking at dragons, but they deny that they are. So the story is about Alex. Her full name is Alexandra, but she prefers the nickname Alex. And she grows up in this family that gets torn apart by dragoning, by an absent father, a mother that is bad at communicating, and she's left to be a mother to a sister that's a cousin. And she's like thirsty for knowledge. She's a scientist before she becomes a scientist, and she just wants to learn. But this is in a world where women are not supposed to learn. They are not supposed to go to school more than like what's necessary to read and write. So to have big dreams are not really allowed. If you want to be a housewife, that's great. That's the best thing you can want. But if you want something else, it's not really room for it. So we have to see her struggle in the void that is left from this massive dragoning of 55, and also in the sadness that is her family, where she has to be a grown-up though she's a child. And it gets really emotional. It's really sad. It's a sad life story. Yeah, it really, really hits you hard in the heart to read this. What I really liked was that they do tell about dragons in a very beautiful way. So when they describe dragons, it's like such beautiful descriptions. Let's see if I can find... No, I'm not going to read it. Like they really tell about the power of the dragon, and the glorious movements and the shifts of light on the scales. And every dragon is different in texture, in shape, in size, in colors. And they also are a bit funnily described. I had some hard times to picture it, because they smoke. They have handbags, they try to read books, they drink coffee, and I have, a dragon, like, let's take notes, let's knit a sweater, okay. So it was a fun read. What I didn't like was, I was worried that it was going to be one of those books that is heavily feministic in the way that they tell that men suck, men are evil, men are bad, women are great, women are smart, women are put down, but women will rise and conquer all. And I haven't lived my life feeling like that, so I don't really like when reality is portrayed like that. I don't feel myself a victim because I'm a woman. So I was afraid it was going to be a preachy, I hate men book. It wasn't, and when I got a bit into the book, I did see that, so that was a relief. With that, I don't mean that there's no struggles in anything, everything is rosy, I don't say that, but it was not a men suck and are evil kind of story, which I do appreciate. So it also depicts a time in history when it wasn't as fair as it is today, and you do have to keep that in mind. Yeah, so it's difficult to me to give this book a rating, because it's so different, and I did have some time to get that I struggled with getting into it. because I was scared it was going to be a I Hate Men book, and I don't like those. And I also, yeah, well, I was so worried about that, so I had a hard time getting into the story. But when I did and realized it's not like that, it was really, really good. So at the beginning I read like half an hour max at a time, and by the end of it I sat for hours and just read the book because it was so enjoyable. So if you can just push through the beginning, if you have struggles like me, you will probably like it. I really enjoyed it. It was like, if the beginning was a 2 out of 5 for me, the end was like a 4.5 out of 5. So I do recommend reading this book. It's different.